the headlines of the new global developments. The collapse of oil giants brings the US in alliance with Russia. Turkey, it's been suppressed around its own borders. The paranoid political approach of Hillary Clinton and George Soros leads to strategic US alliance with Russia. The story behind the rushed visit of Kerry with Putin happens just before the collapse of the American oil giants. Also, there is a total binding of Israel in Putin's chariot.
Putin foresees the collapse of the dollar is approaching, and that is why Russians were not worried about their crisis and the suffering of Russian citizens. Putin was confident that his opponents will drop themselves into the pit they opened for Russia.
The American economy has been shaken from the collapse of the fourth oil giant. The American Emerald Oil, which has more than 100 oil wells, went bankrupt, following the bankruptcies of Magnum Hunter Resources, Samson Resources, and Swift Energy. The US now is paying in the worst possible way the paranoid policies of Hillary Clinton under the guidance of George Soros, while they were attempted to kneel down the Russian economy, and to put pressure on Venezuela by dropping oil prices. It was known for over 15 months that lowering oil prices would hurt America more than Russia. And this is exactly what happened. So by taking in consideration all logical conclusions based on global economic data, it is impossible to finance indefinitely insanity and paranoid policies without reaching at a global conflict or a world war.
Hillary Clinton attacked Libya and allowed the looting of Iraq's natural resources, same as in Syria through ISIS, in order to bring down the world's oil prices. The stolen oil of Libya and Syria flowed in abundance on world markets, and the collapse in oil prices began to shake the Russian economy, and the social structure and politics of Venezuela. Both Russia and Venezuela use oil revenues to fund their social policies, since the mining is not held in slavery manner, as it is in these ruined by Hillary Clinton countries, Iraq, Libya, Syria, as well as in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. It was inevitable therefore that both Russia and Venezuela will experience a crisis, as it was planned by the Hillary Clinton's gang.
It was obvious and self-evident what we experience today. For the Texan Republicans, in the majority oil tycoons, there was no way to represent the collateral damage of this ethnocide policy, and it was a matter of time to witness their own unpleasant effect of their own stupid malpractices in global scale, which it did. George Soros, financier of the Emirate of Qatar, he was able to finance Hillary Clinton, but he did not have any access to reach Obama's surrounding, and this is how the looming American intervention in Syria failed, in favor of Islam fascists. The recent visit of Kerry in Russia was in fact an official capitulation. The message passed by Kerry to Putin is the intention of Obama on consistency now not only in Syria but in the wider geopolitical developments with Putin, bringing also on the table even Ukraine. The era of a new kind of Cold War promoted by the special interests, who even finance terrorism, has just ended. Russia and the US will jointly take all geostrategic decisions in the near future.
Prime Minister of Israel Benjamin Netanyahu and the leaders of his group inherited and retained the black sponsorship of Saudi Arabia. This dirty political dependency had made Israel a scourge on Iran since they were serving the Saudi interests. The core of Netanyahu leadership Israeli team attempted to involve the country in the Syrian war, alongside with the Islamists.
In 2013 there was the first resonance of Putin's intervention with Netanyahu. Hell was raised by Putin in the meeting over the developments in Syria. Putin managed to thwart the plans of corrupted Israeli policies, which would of course have destroyed Israel itself, or would lead to a coup by the military. When finally realized their stupidity, immediately declared their support for Assad, then there was a total reversal of Israel's attitude towards Syria. The public opinion in Israel while observing the murderous Hillary Clinton's policies in the Middle East, and some of her statements which were interpreted as discreet support to Hamas, they changed their opinion and supported Putin's approach, so Netanyahu he could no longer have any confidence in US with this pro-Islam and pro-Nazi policies, as we all have seen applied in Ukraine. Israel now recognizes Russia as the main guarantor of the territorial status, even though some miserable paid minority is leaking quarterly the alleged restoration of relations with Turkey, but they are naturally refuted.
All these new developments they form the new opposition front in the world map. Turkey has offered land and water on Hillary Clinton's policies, which pioneered the devastating machinations of the Arab Spring and the slaughter in Syria, but now is isolated as never before. Hillary's disorderly retreat of the refugee, and the first acceptance of NATO as a guarantor of the Greek-European borders shows the desperate attempt to keep any foothold in the West. It is now clear that no Westerner would fight on the side of Turkey. NATO on the west, Russia and Armenia on north, Iran and Iraq on east, Syria and Israel in south, surround the Turkish territory. The Kurdish forces are equipped having longer excursion bases, with an unprecedented USA-Russian tolerance in Syria and Iraq. The only power left the ISIS with jets supported by Turkey who still continue to use and blackmail. This Russia-Saudi Arabia approach deprives Turkey from a valuable ally, since Putin requested firm guarantees on non-Islam fascists funding organizations.
The next moves will determine the future of humanity, that owes a clear answer to the timeless enemies of civilization. This main enemy, who always buys its allies within the walls.